It is Monday. It is Memorial Day weekend Monday. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time, not just today, throughout the weekend. We are live every Monday, as you know, including today on Inside LAFC Podcast Live. We are on LAFC YouTube. We are on LAFC Facebook. And who knows beyond there? We encourage all of you to hit the thumbs up. It's not a thumbs down. Hit the thumbs up and let the people know. Leave a comment if you want in our comment section. We will answer questions. Also, subscribe to LAFC YouTube and Facebook if you haven't done that. I imagine you've already subscribed if you're here, but you never know. So I'll tell you. I am Max Bretos, and looks like taking in some rays today is the one and only Benny Feilhaber. How are we feeling, Benny?
No, I'm feeling good on Memorial Day weekend. But like you said, the podcast never rests. So here on vacation with the family, but a man's got to do what a man's got to do. And we're here on the Inside the LAFC podcast. So excited to talk about LAFC.
Benny's been a rock star. He's been traveling, you can see him now as part of the CBS Paramount crew. He will record anywhere we need him to. And he's done that here today, even though he should be taking some time off. We appreciate it.
Max, you created a monster, man. So
that's right. Remember this day. Remember when Benny's there on the broadcast booth calling the 2030 World Cup. He's going to remember us little folks at that point. We're getting the comments in there, and I like to see it. Jose, R.I.P. America. Black and gold forever from Zen Ismar. I don't know if we've got a comment from Zen Ismar. I would remember that very lovely
that's a new
icon.
one.
Ruben, Sebastian, way to go. Welcome in. Again, just let us know you're there. We love to chat with you. We'll try and answer all the questions. And we know it is Club America week. They just finished their Mexican championship. I believe it's the Clausura. Forgive me if I got that wrong. And because Argentina has their Apertura. It's very confusing. They lost to Toluca over 2 legs. So we'll let you know what that means. So stick around. We will get into that complete preview. And to help you get ready for it, if you watched it already or if you're watching for the first time, tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific time, you can see the re-air of LAFC and CF Montreal, the game that LAFC, the last game they would play ahead of this big FIFA Club World Cup qualifier. That was we're going to talk about it here in a moment. That is on Fox 11 Plus, and I think we got everything going. Jose is a big Toluca fan, so he's really happy. Hopefully we can make you happy again this week coming up. Tuesday, 5:30 on Fox 11 Plus, formerly Channel 13. Preceding that, make sure you tune into LAFC Weekly, 3 hours of LAFC program. We don't know how long we'll go today, but we're going longer and longer because there's so much to talk about, and this is going to be a big week. So let's get into it, Benny. The game against Montreal, long road trip, 5 hours, desperate team. Some changes here. We expected some rotation, but this is a weird one, right? Because you still don't want to rotate too much. Timothy Tillman didn't make the trip. Maxime Chanot was off the injury list. So you want to rotate a little bit, but you still want all your featured guys to get some minutes. So how did you view the starting 11? We saw Bobasi come in or Daz move out wide. It was Frankie Amaya coming in with no Timothy Tillman, and then the back four, Smolyakov, come in for Ryan Hollingshead. Ryan Hollingshead, Under, Yeboah, and Giroux all came in off the bench. How'd you see the personnel wrap?
Well, I think you saw the dip in form with some of the not so consistent performers in the lineup. And I don't know if you have the inside scoop on Timothy Tillman, but obviously disappointed to not see him in the lineup. Was it injury or rest?
It was listed as an injury, but I think it was a combination. I would expect to see him this weekend.
Okay. Well, look, I didn't think Frankie Amaya had the best of games. I thought the back line had some issues, especially on the outside backs against their wingers. They had a little bit of their way with us in the first 15, 20, 25 minutes of the first half. I mean, look, we talked about Montreal a little bit last podcast where they had their first win and then they got throttled by Toronto in their derby. And so you knew they were coming out with a better performance, with better attitude, and they did that, and LAFC didn't match it. For once, I saw LAFC kind of being overpowered from a physical standpoint, especially in the back, right? Things that you don't see very often. Guys were taking people on. Guys were, bodying people. I mean, the first goal comes from, essentially a center in basketball or a pivot in futsal, just kind of turning and with the power being able to find the back of the net. And we saw a couple of those moments where guys were getting, taken down the line a little bit too easily, getting shots a little bit too easily. We kind of sat deeper and deeper because we weren't able to kind of impose ourselves in the game. I think part of that is because Montreal came with everything. And part of that is because when you move, 2, 3, 4 pieces around in that starting 11, there's not the same cohesion, not the same understanding. Guys aren't as game fit as some of the guys that we see every day. And I think we saw a little bit of that in the beginning of that game, for sure. And that led to the 2-0 deficit early in that game.
This is LAFC, Inside LAFC podcast, live on LAFC YouTube and Facebook. Just a few little housekeeping things. This week, LAFC would have played Sporting Kansas City. That game has been moved to June the 8th. That would have been a home game. Also, the weekend, they would have played Colorado on Saturday. That's been moved for the Club World Cup game. That's on July the 9th, just in case you didn't know. And we will preview the Club America game. So very interesting setup with everything that's going on with them. Brian Gomez in caps, LAFC to the WC. Here we go, the World Cup. And we will get into these comments as well. We want to continue the Montreal conversation because this is important. We have talked over the last couple of weeks how the prep would look like. What is ideal? Is it good that Club America had these 2 final games? Is it good that they won the championship or lost the championship? How does LAFC, is it good that LAFC hits the road on a very long, one of the longest trips they could make to Montreal or play at home, whatever it is, the challenges that go into the pot that get you ready for this game. One thing that we saw was, and you touched on it, is the slow start. Another slow start, something that LAFC cannot do against America, something that will come to haunt them if they trail as good as Club America are defensively. We saw this in the Galaxy game. Just remember, we talked about last week, and Coach Chernilo waved, come on, guys. This was it, and the physicality that you touched on as well. We've seen a quick start against Vancouver, against the Sounders. Generally, this season, LAFC has been a little slow out of the gate. Sometimes it's just a tactical thing where they're getting things in motion. But as the season goes on, you want to see that sharpened up. I think maybe the Galaxy game at the end of a week was a little fatigue there. I don't know what this one is, because what we saw by the end of the game, LAFC were flying. I mean, when they got that first goal, I felt confident they would get something, a point. I thought they would still get a win, and they came close to winning that game as well. But see if Montreal and the LA Galaxy, we're going to have a step up in class, and a slow start would be poison if LAFC get into that. Have to come out. What would the messaging be if you were on the team, Benny, and you see a team just not where you see them at halftime or at near full time, where they're playing at a much higher pace with much more intensity?
Slow starts are tough, right? As a coach, as a player, even it's hard to kind of pinpoint what leads to it or how you can turn, the screws and kind of go 180 the opposite direction and have a good start. And we've seen this team have some good starts, and obviously in the last couple games have some slow starts. I think, as a coach, you try things. And I think one of the things you can try is, in terms of a pregame speech, is, the cliche, hey, what do we need to do? How do we win the first tackle? How do we take the first shot? How do we, impose ourselves physically in the game? Things that are more black and white, right? And then the other aspect is maybe there's certain little things that you can do in terms of, let's say you got the kickoff to start the game. Let's boot the ball. I've seen teams now, I think it's Serie A, I forget what team it was, but a team literally brings it back and they don't lump it to win a header. They literally kick it out for a throw-in for the other team. They kick it straight out of bounds for a throw-in, 5 yards away from the corner flag, or as close to the corner flag as you can. And now you go and try and suffocate the other team trying to play out of a throw-in. And so there's little things, and I'm not saying that that's necessarily the way that LAFC kind of break the mold of the slow start, but there are little things that you can at least try to see if that can kind of, get the team going in the right direction. So I'm sure Steve will be thinking about this, because now, after one game you think, okay, we're going to be past that. But after 2 games in a row, let's start talking about this. Let's see how we can fix this. And I think Steve and the staff will think of something, and maybe we see something, a little bit more, one-dimensional, direct. Let's go play in the other team's end, and kind of what, who said that? Ruben Rio said, Benny, drop the hammer. Well, LAFC need to drop the hammer on America to some extent and let them know that we're here to play, we're here to win.
I think Ruben's saying that if it was in the halftime, you would drop the hammer on the team. You would have
maybe
fire and
Gerundolo needs to
brimstone
do that
speed.
too. Yeah, that's right. Well, Gerundolo might have to do that as well, right? So whether it's the coach, whether it's the players, whether it's just the attitude in general, I think something will have to change because, again, the team that we're playing against on Saturday or Sunday, Max?
Saturday, the 31st.
Saturday. If you have a slow start, like you said, and they pick up a goal or 2 goals, it's not the same as coming back from Montreal. It's going to be a much tougher task because this team will not only know how to defend very well, but they'll know how to counter very well. So we don't want to go down 1-0.
No, we do not. And the good news is slow starts haven't been the case when LAC have played at home, certainly not recently. And slow starts were something earlier on, but they were very good defensively. They have to be very good defensively. Again, Jose saying the back line have been inconsistent, errors in getting rid of the ball on that second rebound. And I think, the defense has not been watertight. The Seattle game, yes. Vancouver game let up the goals. The Galaxy, they gave up some goals. I mean, they want to be a team that can beat you 1-0, and that hasn't happened in some of these games. I think goals will be at a premium in Club America, so we'll have to see that. And I think, as you said, that Steve Cherundolo comes off as very mild-mannered, but this is an intense dude when he has to be at training and play, and no nonsense. So, I mean, if you think there's wiggle room, as anyone out there, Steve knows what he's doing in that front, and a very good eye for detail. And he knows that this team has to be locked in. And I know for 3 weeks we've been at the media gatherings and all the questions about Club America. And he said, we're focusing on this. We're focusing on the Galaxy. We're focusing on Montreal. Well, now the questions are going to come and we'll get all the answers. So stick around for that later this week. El Cipote joining us, I believe, from El Salvador. Vamos LAFC, más copas, more trophies. Marie-France Knapik en français. I think she's saying she's joining us in France, where we have a lot of fans because of our French Legion, 5 French-born players, including Jeremy Abobasi, who's born in Paris. So we will get to all the questions about Club America we'll get to in a little bit. We'll have them, and we'll have a projected starting front for Benny to select a trio for that game. Black and gold. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that'll be tough to find out what that, not only the starting 11, but especially the front 3. I think we have some ideas of who the starters will probably be from the midfield 3 is probably the easiest. Then if it's a back 4, it's probably pretty easy. If you decide to go to a back 5, then there's more question marks. But again, the front 3 is where I think maybe where you win or lose this game, depending how you utilize those players, either from the start. And obviously we'll get into that, but that just got me thinking, Max.
Look at all these Facebook icons in the comments. Bring it. We've been saying the Facebook folks. The YouTube people are so strong. Facebook, we need to come in as well. Mark, you mentioned the midfield. Mark Delgado did make the match day starting 11. Had a goal. Should have had 2 goals. Remember that one in the first half. Imagine that goes in. And he was disappointed at the end of the game. And I think probably that miss was there, even though he had a great, well assisted by Nate Ordaz. The black and gold attacking breakdown. I thought Nathan Ordaz, who got moved to the wing, was exceptional. He went at their right back, and he found space time and time again, had that assist, and was constantly dangerous. I imagine Denny's going to feel pretty frustrated. Turned the ball over a bit, just wasn't there, and he's going to have, he's going to have a clunker here and there. He's been magnificent, really, over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And then Jeremy Abobasi gets to start. And we'll talk about Olivier Giroud in a moment. Comes off and scores after being in 6 minutes. How'd you see that attacking 3? What would you have liked to have seen? What do you think would have worked? And going back to our last topic of a slow start, maybe a trio that could have perhaps unlocked Montreal sooner.
Well, one of the things that I thought was excellent was the movement, the deep lying runs from the midfield, right? We saw Mark Delgado get on the end of one. We saw him have that big chance before he scored where Denny Bouanga, or might have been, I think it was before the 2-1, if I'm not mistaken, but Denny Bouanga kind of slipped him in and he came through the middle and the goalie made a good save. So those deep lying runs have been excellent. I think we need to continue with that. Maybe that frees Mark Delgado a little bit, with Frankie Amaya in there potentially. Is he possibly, a little bit more stay at home? I don't see necessarily the difference in the positioning from him and Timothy Tillman, but we saw more out of Mark Delgado in that end of the field. Now, the thing that I loved more than anything was the ability for the link-up play with Nathan Ordaz on the right side with Sergi Palencia, right? And Palencia is the one that gives Nathan Ordaz that ball. I mean, that to me, and look, I'm gonna blush a little bit here because what happened on that play, there was no real advantage leading to that play. It wasn't like it was a 2-on-1 and the defender was in no man's land or whatever. And the creation of timing and space and movement and the actual passing of the ball from Sergi Palencia, the movement from Nathan Ordaz to kind of open up wide, kind of make an interior horizontal run first before he starts making it vertical so he stays on side, the timing of the pass, it allows Ordaz to just get a little bit of space in front of that left back Montreal. And then you look at the runs in the middle. Jeremy Bobasi does exactly what he needs to do. He runs as hard as he can inside that 6, where if the defender doesn't run with him, it's a ball across to him, and it's a tap-in. If the defender runs with him, then it's the second, run from Mark Delgado that comes deep from the midfield. That's the cutback ball from Nathan Ordaz to Mark Delgado to finish it. And so it was a thing of beauty. I mean, it's things that as a coach, I mean, you want to show over and over again, because this is how you create soccer opportunities, soccer goals, without necessarily being on a counterattack or a breakaway. It's just methodical passing, timing, space, running, etc. And it was exceptional to see. And so we're seeing a little bit more of that. And we talked about that, right? It wasn't Sergi Palencia overlapping this time, but it was that kind of combination play on those exterior parts of the field that I think leads to these chances being built. And so that goal was exceptional. I thought Nathan Ordaz's movement and
he's a problem, man.
Decision-making on the ball was excellent. Yep. And look, not to say that he hasn't been able to do that at a pretty high level as the 9, right? He's been very good as the 9, and we see that he is also able to do that as a winger. But again, those were the positives. I thought that time and time again we created from those areas of the field. In the second half, the goal comes from a little bit more of a one-on-one with Under kind of being able to cut inside, serve a ball. Denny Bwanga makes that run on the left side, and it gets cut out. And Giroud's in a really good spot as well to finish it. And a classy finish with a one touch without allowing the team to kind of reset, the defensive team to reset. So there was a lot of positives going forward. And I think now to answer your secondary question, Max, that you talked about, who would I've wanted to see? And look, it's nitpicky at this point, right? When you're talking about the front 3, because you really do have a lot of talent up there. I think Jeremy has been good as the 9. I've said it before. I think Giroud is a guy that comes off the bench in moments exactly like this, when you're in need of a goal and you need a little bit more of a presence in the box because there's going to be more service. I think that's what Giroud provides, and I think that's what we saw. Now the question mark for me is who are the best 3? And I think Denny Bwanga you can basically just put in that spot. Ordaz needs to start. So does he start somewhere as the 9? Somewhere. Ordaz, does he start as the 9 or as the right winger? For me, the one thing that I still haven't seen, and I thought we were going to see it in this game, was Ordaz as the 9 and Under starting as that right winger. I think Under has shown in these last few games he's getting a little steadier, more consistent with not just his game, but actually providing goals and assists. I think he's getting on the end of things. He's creating things. I would have really liked to see Under start on the right and let Ordaz play as the 9. And at the end, you can't really say it wasn't effective what Cherundolo did, because Ordaz played a great game on the right. Under came in and provided a sort of assist. Giroud came in and provided the game-winning, game-tying goal. And so there was a lot of positives that went with it. But I still think that there's a question mark of what are the best front 3 to start. And obviously, David Martinez is a guy that fits in there somewhere, and we didn't see him at all in this game. So
we got options.
Yeah, there's tons of options, but I would have loved to see Under as a starter now that he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable in this setup.
Paul Maldonado joining us on Facebook. Bwanga, Ordaz, and Under need to start. And then David said, I say Bwanga, Ordaz, and Under for the front 3. And you're going to give us our starting 3 for America a little bit ahead. But you're talking about this Montreal game, where this would have been the spot for Under to kind of get in there. And I don't want to spoil, but maybe Club America would be a little bit trickier, and we'll get to the tactics we might see in that game here shortly for that game, and maybe you provide them in the second half. Much how Toluca wore down America, maybe the bench for LAFC can do it. But this is more for the Montreal game.
Yeah, I think for the Montreal game, I would have liked to see that. I think maybe we'd have a few more answers than questions. I almost think that you have more questions than answers with what happened, because Ordaz is so versatile, right? And playing as the 9 and playing as a right winger, you can play him either place. So where do you play him now, right? So and it's arguably the biggest game of the year right now going into this Club America game. And I would say that, Trundle would be hard pressed to know, definitely what is his best starting front three.
We will, and listen, Nathan Ordaz, we've said this on the program before, he's going to butter his bread as a winger with LAFC or wherever he goes next. That's his position. He's playing the number 9 because it's affording him minutes, and he's doing it for the team, much like we saw Matty Bogusz do in years past. But it worked, and it's worked with this team as well in the past, so we will see. We'll see how that looks, but we'll get into that starting three. This is Inside LAFC podcast, live on LAFC YouTube and LAFC Facebook. We need you to like the show, hit that thumb button, subscribe to LAFC YouTube, tell a friend, leave a comment here or on the YouTube page. We will answer it the following week. Delgado is him, MVP maybe for the team, I would imagine. I like Umber, but he's got a temper and gets in his own way a lot, and he can be a little hot and cold, and I think that's probably what's keeping him in the 11. But when he's hot, he's hot. By the way, Messi LAFC, he says, what's up, guys? Very happy Giroud scored Saturday. We have a great chance since America lost yesterday. All right, we're getting there. And somebody, Chanot needs to be, this from Henry, Chanot needs to be in the back line for America. Long is not cutting it. Long is still our guy and our captain. He's had, I think, the workload's gotten to him, but it's too early for Chanot, but another healthy body, and he's been frustrated not getting in. Had a chance to talk to him last week. He is eager to get back in the mix. Let's talk about Giroud, because I know he scored a goal coming off the bench, and he looked dangerous on a couple other moments as well. I would have started him in this game. I think you want to see, because at Club America, I think just the mental games, everyone knows who Olivier Giroud is. They haven't seen that he hasn't performed at the level that many are accustomed to this season. But I think you can play some mind games with him and maybe see what he can do. And when he did come in, we saw a guy who was getting in position and the balls were coming in. First from Under. I guess I would have started Giroud. No, I guess I would still Giroud, Ordaz, and Bouanga and find Under in here at some point. But, Bobaci's been, and Ordaz playing at 9 is really an issue of maybe the 2 9s that we have don't allow the team to click into place. So good goal for a game equalizing goal, a confidence building goal. And I just think in a big game, and you could say that this LAFC America game is the biggest game in the club's history because it is the result of all the things you've done. MLS Cup, making a final in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That I get this idea of Gareth Bale and MLS Cup. Wasn't really a factor. Came in and made a difference. Maybe history repeats. But do you see Giroud as a guy who can make a contribution Saturday and perhaps beyond there?
Definitely. I definitely think that. I don't agree with you that you put him from the start, because at the end of the day, I'd put money on my guys that have gotten me to this point or had the best season so far to get the start. But I wouldn't put money against Giroud coming in off the bench, like I said, in a moment where you need a goal and you're going to be a little bit more direct. You're going to put some service into the box, and that's what he's good at. I mean, along the course of his career, he's not a guy that you play through and you play 1-2. Sure, he has that in moments, but it's not in abundance, right? What he has in abundance is a presence in the box. He's a big guy, big body, gets his head on things, throws his body around. He's clinical in one-touch finishes like the goal that he scored. I mean, he made that look extremely easy, and it wasn't as easy as it looked. So he's a guy that's comfortable getting on the end of things. But I think the way LAFC play, that tends to happen much more when they're chasing a game late by a goal than during the beginning of the game and the start. So I would stick to the guys that have gotten you here and have played the best so far. But I definitely think he is, to me, it's almost like if I'm Steve Trundle, I know exactly what Giroud is. He's a guy I put on my bench. He's a guy I bring in whenever I need a goal. Maybe if you're up a goal or whatever, and he's a guy that you feel like can settle the game down in some respect, sure, he can play in some minutes though there as well. But for the most part, it's going to be in moments of the game where you need a goal and you're going to be a little bit more direct.
This is Inside LAFC Podcast. Like and subscribe. It's here. A reminder, tomorrow, 5:30 Pacific time, you can watch the re-air of LAFC and CF Montreal on Fox 11 Plus, Fox 13. Let's get into it. The big game versus Club America. And this our first preview. It's Club America week. Let us go. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be at home Saturday. Check LAFC.com wherever for tickets. Let's get a lot of black and gold jerseys. We know there's going to be a lot of azul y crema, as they say for Club America. It's yellow, but they call it a cream, but it's nice. It's a beautiful shirt. Club America, laced in history. Jose, we'll get to the starting 11 prediction, particularly because we know what the rest of the team looks like. It's that attacking three. Subs, Paul mentioned his subs to come in sooner. The details of this game, 90 minutes, 2 15-minute extra time, and then penalties. I've spoken to several people. I did Sirius XM FC this morning with Keith Costigan. He says LAFC is going to win in penalties. So subs are going to be big. And Club America is going to look across there and see Under and Giroud on that bench. That's good because Club America, their bench is loaded. I think that is their strength, that they can throw so much at you and bring in quality players in every area. Brian Rodriguez can come off the bench. Diego Valdez, Victor Davila. These are the guys who are on the bench. These are all international players. Rodrigo Aguirre, who is known as El Búfalo, really good. Nestor Araujo, who is a legendary figure, Mexican figure. He can't even get off the Club America bench. So it is very strong. I think the possibility of 120 minutes, based on what I have been hearing, is very real. So that is there. The Vegas odds, I was eager to see this. You got it from one source. I got it from FanDuel. It's a coin flip.
Yeah.
LAFC plus 150, and then plus 160 for Club America, plus 235 for a draw. So I think they like the draw too.
Well, it sounds like they don't like the draw. That's how.
They don't like the draw. Sorry. I'm a horrible gambler. I don't gamble.
Plus 235. If you bet that and it's the draw, that you're happy. You want.
So you bet 230, you win 100, right?
No, you bet 100, you win 230, Max.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But at the end of the day, it is a coin flip. You got that part right. And look, I think they're saying that Club America might be just slightly a better team than LAFC right now, but LAFC are playing at home, and so that levels out. And, if you want to, if you said it's 150, plus 150 and plus 160, then it's 51-49 for LAFC to win this game. Essentially, a coin flip. And look, from an LAFC perspective, I think if you play your best game, I think you win the game. If you play anything but a top game, I think you put a lot of likelihood for Club America, because they're at the back end of their season. They're consistent. And look, I watched a little bit of the extended highlights from their game against Toluca. I didn't think they looked great, but I also thought the game itself was so, it was a final. The first leg was 0-0. The second leg was 0-0 until the middle of the second half. It was tense. There wasn't much, opportunity for goals. It was mostly played in the midfield. So it was a battle, right? And both teams battling against each other and kind of not giving an inch. So I don't know how much you can take from that, but I didn't see Club America having too much creativity as I've seen in past when I've seen them in the CONCACAF Champions Cup and whatnot. I feel like they're a free-flowing attack. So that's a positive that we didn't see that. And they seemed slightly susceptible on the set pieces. And I think that's one thing that, Cherundolo will harp on a little bit, because LAFC can be good on set pieces. Conversely, they got to be good on their defensive set pieces to not allow Club America to score in that sense. But again, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take one of our best performances to beat a very, very good team. But it's gonna be a very competitive match, I think.
Oh man, the comments. Everyone wants to see a gambling segment, Gambling 101 from Jose with Benny. Ruben's been on fire because our
gambling 101, sports gambling 101 is the best advice I can give you. Don't do it.
Vegas do it. Especially when MLS teams are involved. Don't do it. Man at Coog would have loved this segment. He is not here. We're just using that as a framework while they're gambling to see how they're looking at, because those guys, they make a living out of this, so they're not going to fleece you with their numbers. Ruben saying this game will be in the third LAFC book. Can't wait for that to read that chapter. David, all LAFC fans need to be loud on Saturday from the beginning versus the national anthem Mexican teams versus American team. Our defense needs to look out for Zendejas. I mean, they have so many good players. But this is what you said. They didn't look dangerous. And in that second leg, against Toluca, which was at the Nemesio 10, which, man, what a great atmosphere. And El Turco Mohamed, their coach, winning a Mexican champion with 4 different titles is legit. Both teams played with back threes, back fives, essentially. And America played with a back 4 at their home leg. So I get the feeling, I think we might see the back 3, which is going to be an interesting conversation when we talk to Steve later this week. But against Toluca in the second leg, Club America, 0 shots on goal, 4 shots total. I mean, they got a lot of the ball, but didn't do much with it. So
they did hit the very inside of the post in the first half.
With the defender coming up.
That was their only really top play of the game, where they basically 1-2 through the entire defense. Having said that, Toluca, if I'm not mistaken, is almost in the sky. The game is like
it's high altitude,
1,300 meters up, where you got to understand that it is not the easiest for away teams to play. And so maybe Club America went in with that train of thought as well, that, look, we're not going to be able to run them silly. We're going to have to be organized. We're going to have to be smart. And maybe they were okay with a 0-0 game going into the second half. But again, I agree. They didn't show much in the attacking part of the game.
Didn't score in the first leg.
Right.
I was really impressed with them defensively. That's why I say no slow starts for LAFC. If you chase this game, not a recipe for success. And you got to defend those chances, because those wide players. Reyes was one of the 3 center backs. He came all the way up. It's like this intricate moving around, which I found enticing from America's perspective. But that said, they didn't score a goal. A few more comments. I can't go on without this. UB, a Bretos tifo, would give us the push we need to win. 32-52 if you want to. No, don't worry about that. I'd be very embarrassed seeing that, especially if they lost. It would hang on me forever.
I wouldn't let you live it down, man.
Yeah, Jose agreeing with, hey, my guys, they're stepping up here. We appreciate you doing that. So we'll get in there about this team. This is a big game. Everyone thinks it's right down the middle. Depending who you ask, you'll see a lot of people picking LAFC. In the neutral world, they will pick LAFC. So with all that we said, and the reality that Club America, people asking for ideal 11, let's go through that, and then we'll get to the front 3. Obviously, it's going to be Hugo. Again, an ace up the sleeve, big game player in a big game. And I think it's going to mesmerize these Club America players too. I mean, we're used to him. These teams are not. And also, we beat Club America in a friendly, even though Club America had the better of the play that day. LAFC got the Ordaz goal. They were supposed to play in the semifinal of the League's Cup. But as you will recall, LAFC, they lost to the Colorado Rapids in the quarterfinals. So this game could have happened more frequently. We'd like to see it happen more often. It's a big deal. So it's going to be Lloris. Stop me if you think I'm wrong here, but Hollingshead, who came off the bench, Long, Segura, who almost scored a goal, by the way, against Montreal. He went in long range. I think Segura
as well.
Okay. Palencia, IJ, Igor Jesus, Tillman, Delgado. And now let's get into the
only thing I'll say, I agree with everything you said. The only question mark is Timothy Tillman ready to start in this game.
Another big
if
question.
He's not, then there's a question mark for me whether Cherundolo inserts Frankie Amaya, or what I think he does is play a back 5 if Tillman doesn't play. I think he puts maybe Marlon in and plays a back 5.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all, Benny.
I would rather.
That's what Toluca did.
I would rather us play the 4-3-3. I think we've looked better, especially from an aesthetic point of view. And I've seen both the positives and the negatives of us playing with 4 or 5. But if Tillman's not playing, then I do agree that maybe being a little bit surer on the backside and letting Sergi Palencia and definitely Hollingshead getting a little bit more into the attack could provide, the best look. So Tillman's a big question mark.
And if Chanot's ready to go, but that'd be strange to put him in such a high-stakes game when he's barely played this season. So I wouldn't expect that. Remember, they got all these defenders, and then Kosi Tafari. It was maybe this was the moment. We'll find out on Saturday. So let's talk about the attacking front 3. And if it's not Tillman, you would say it would be the 2 midfielders and another center back. Let's say Marlon goes in. And I don't be ruled.
Let's assume Tillman's playing. I think we both agree that it will be a 4-3-3.
See, Jose was mentioning the back 5 as well, which worked for Toluca.
Yep.
The best attacking three for this game. This is not best attacking three for LAFC. It might be, but to you, who would you trot out there in the front three spots?
I think who I would put out there, and I think this
or
is.
Or do you think Steve would?
I
think want to phrase it?
I think what I would do right now, because I can't tell you, again, we us as outsiders have only the perspective of game days to see. And I think this is what Steve is probably going to go with. It's Bouanga. I think he plays Ordaz as the 9, and I think he starts David Martinez on the right. That's what I think he's going to do. That's probably what I would do if there were some more question marks or more answers than question marks. Possibly, if you feel comfortable starting a Jeremy Bobasi, Ordaz had a fantastic game on the right side, or if we think that Under has shown enough to start on the right side and start Ordaz. But again, I do think that he goes with Bouanga, Ordaz, and Martinez.
I think so too. And when you say that, when you have that big wall for Club America, you're looking for those spaces, and Ordaz can find those spaces, which he's done all season. And I think Martinez, and without question, Denny Bouanga. And when you say it like that, I get excited. I think there is an opportunity for chances. David Day.
I have a question though, Max. How excited, because I get excited about this prospect too, and I'm curious about what you think. How excited would you be of a David Martinez coming off the bench though, to a slightly more tired team, and then his speed and athleticism off the bench? I mean, it's difficult to replicate what that looks like from a defensive perspective in training. So like Club America would have a very hard time adjusting to a David Martinez in the 60th minute of a game.
And if you start David, you essentially shorten your bench, because with Bobasi and Giroud, only one will come in, or none. Right. Both of them are not coming in under any circumstance. And that's a minor detail. This is a chess match, and this is what's making me nervous again, because these are very important decisions.
I would be shocked if I don't see one of two starting 3, and that's either Bouanga, Ordaz, Martinez, or Bouanga, Ebobasi, Ordaz. If I don't see one of those 2 options, I will be very surprised.
Douglas Gonzalez, he goes, who's on Facebook, do you really think LAFC can beat America? We do. I'm not covered in confidence by any means, but I'm bolstered by the lines coming from Vegas. And so what? They think LAFC could win this game. A lot of people think, experts feel it's an interesting matchup. So if you said you were going to abduct my family and I had to predict this game, I would probably say Club America.
I think that the question, right? Do you really think LAFC can beat America? And
I thought he said it with tone.
My answer to that is one word, and that's soccer or football. Because if anybody's watched football or soccer in their lifetime, they know that you got to play the game, and we've seen wild things happen one way or another. So yes, of course, we can see anything happening in this game. We can see a blowout one way or blowout the other way, or a 0-0 or a 3-3. Anything can happen. I mean, these two teams are, very close together, I think, in talent and quality. So it's just going to be who's better on the night, who comes out firing, and who has a better 90-minute performance.
Jose Correa likes your idea. He says, light bulb idea, light bulb icon, Benny cooking. And I think he said using Under, Martinez, and Giroud as super subs. And then he made the comment, our defense would need to hold the wall. Hold them until you get to the deep end of the pool in the 75th minute and
then drown them
the 100th minute. Yeah. Ruben, don't count out LAFC. Listen, as much as Steve Cherundolo is saying we haven't thought about it, the players are told not to mention it. They've been thinking about it. This is huge. They're going to come out with their best foot, and it's going to be amazing. A tie with the 2 bottom teams doesn't make me feel confident. No.
But what about a tie with the best team, though? Tie against Vancouver. So
there we go. Perspective. Douglas wants LAFC to beat America. I imagine Douglas is a fan of Chivas or Cruz Azul or something. Anywhere if he's not supporting America. And I know Facebook is mostly our international audience, so I'm assuming you're joining from outside the U.S. If not, I apologize. Need to defend over the top and set pieces. You said that.
Set pieces in this game. I think set pieces will be big because it doesn't look like Club America has been free flowing in their attack right now. So you think that you're going to be able to, at least limit their opportunities in the run of the game. Set pieces. If somebody were to tell me that there's a team that's going to win the set piece battle, One team will score on a set piece, the other team will not. I mean, again, it'll be very surprising to see that team not end up winning the game.
Okay. We went 40 minutes into this program, and I haven't even mentioned the fact that LAFC are unbeaten in 8. And the scarf from Defenders of the Bank, I saw him tweet, and he goes, I don't want to hear about 8 not unbeaten. I go, but they're unbeaten in 8. They're kind of winning at home, and they're getting points on the road, which is a good recipe. And LAFC, look, they can be playing so much better in league play, but they're 4th in the West. So if the season ended today, which it doesn't, they would host a playoff series.
Home game.
It's a home series. So we'll see. Now let me ask you this about Club America. If you're an America player or if you're looking at it from LAFC, would you prefer coming in without a big time game, without too much of a pressure of another tournament like they did, kind of a clean slate like what LAFC has? They're playing a league game. Win, lose, or draw, there's no repercussions really other than form. You can get well or you can get worse in MLS. Would you prefer that? Would you prefer making a final and losing like America did, or making the final and winning? What is the best perspective or the best route? Let's say it from the LAFC view. Or maybe you can't even judge it from LAFC. Maybe from the America view is probably more realistic about what would inspire you, because now you have to reset for a huge game again.
Right.
LAFC don't have to reset. They've been set.
If you take it in a vacuum, right? If you take it in a vacuum, you're in a final and you win, you're in a final and you lose, or you're in the middle of the season. I think if you're in a final and you win is the best situation to go into a game, because you're as confident as you can possibly be, right? But now if you don't take it in a vacuum, they've had a full season. And a full season is grueling. And you're kind of playing on fumes at the end of it. And they didn't win, right? So that obviously makes a difference as well. But the emotional high usually leads to an emotional hangover. And so I do think that all-encompassing, I'd rather be LAFC. You're in the middle of your season. You're working to get to something. You have a massive opportunity in terms of an emotional buildup now, right? So in the regular season, what happens, the difficulty is none of the games matter more than any of the other games, right? It just kind of feels like, okay, yeah, we want to win, and it feels good to win every single game. Trust me, I hated losing. But at the end of the day, you go into every game kind of the same mentality. You want to win. You want to feel good about how the team is progressing. Now, all of a sudden, you get the biggest game, arguably, in team history, or maybe in some of these guys' lives, and you can elevate yourself, like your focus, your concentration. Physically, you're in a good spot. You're even keel from the middle of the season. You don't have an emotional lull that, maybe Club America does. And so I think LAFC comes into it in a slightly better circumstance. So I would rather be where LAFC are right now than Club America. Take that one notch further. You're playing at home, right? You're going to have the fan base. You're going to sleep in your own bed. You don't have to travel. I think all those things play in LAFC's favor. So again, I would rather be LAFC in this moment.
Yeah, if it wasn't for this game, Club America, they're turning it down. They'll have they have a preseason game, or they have a off-season game. It's not preseason. Toluca get to party a little bit and then move on. That could have been Club America. If it was Club America, they get to party and they have to shut the party down quick because they have to prepare for this game. I get the feeling this is going to be tough for them to ramp up again. I mean, it's demanding. 2 legs. A lot of things are in LAFC's favor. It's home. It's 1 leg. If it was 2 legs, I think you'd see the odds well in America's favor.
Right.
And they're struggling scoring goals. 1 goal in their last 4 games. So it's real, man. And I want to mention, because we're going to start winding things down here. Sebastian, my local Mexican restaurant is Club America themed. LA is going to be bananas. We're going to see people are going to be, what's with all this gold and crema and all? You're going to see it in the stadium, in the city. It's going to be, the city's going to be happy.
Mexican fans always travel. They always travel. They're everywhere, man. And it's fantastic. And so it should be a good environment in that stadium.
There's so many America fans in LA too.
Yeah.
That's
true.
Tens and hundreds of thousands. So, but there'll be some visitors and the city of LA will be happy. This is a big sporting event. And they'll be, hey, LAFC, can you do this every week? You go, well, we can't do it every week. We have to qualify for that. David goes, whatever the starting lineup will be, they need to get under their skin. Some players from America have a short fuse. Well, I can't touch on that. I think their discipline's been good, and Jardine, their coach, is pretty good. And I tell you how they're good defensively. Jonathan Dos Santos, who I think a lot of people gave up on, he used to play with the Galaxy. He's been a beast for them. he's been their number 6 and playing very well. Ruben Giroux, goal, Etta Jones at last. Let's talk about discipline. Because LAFC has to be, and they had a one-off game, the Campeones Cup, and I think they lost the discipline for a little bit, and they lost focus. And Nahuel Guzman, remember that was the ball that they scored a goal, and he told the ref the ball was moving, and the ref reversed it. And that was a game LAFC should have won. But Tigres won because of dark arts, gamesmanship. That's Tigres. Tigres and their goalkeeper, he's a crazy person, but in all the right ways. But I think LAFC's got to have that little mean streak, and that's why I want Tillman in there, because he's got that. And they cannot, if they get pushed, they got to push back. They get a chance to do something a little less than sporting, do it. I don't know. You got to have that gene in you in these kind of games.
Right. You got to be clever. And look,
it's clever.
It's
That's a nice way of putting it.
I mean, it's because you and look, I grew up in Brazil until I was almost 7 years old, and I moved to the US, and I don't have the same level of desire to do some of those things that South American teams and Mexican teams are willing to do, because I watch it and I'm like, dude, that's beyond the sport. But look, at the end of the day, if it helps you win, if you're able to kind of, get the referee on your side in some way, shape, or form, and they're willing to do a little bit more in that regard than, maybe our clean cut Americans or whatever. Sometimes that plays a factor. Sometimes it could backfire as well, right? Maybe the referee is one of those guys that, takes no BS and he's like, no, I'm not going to deal with this stuff and whatever. But at the end of the day, you do have to be clever. I mean, it's a sport. It's a subjective sport. It's a game that's won on the fringes. And like you said, the dark arts play a part a lot of times.
I'm looking here. I don't know if this is confirmed, but I found out it makes sense that Brazilian referee Wilton Sampaio will oversee the LAFC Club America game.
Oh, boy, I got to see who this is now. I got to see a picture of this guy, because I probably know who it is.
That's not the muscular guy, right? One guy who obviously works out.
No. I think I know who it is. Yep, I know who it is.
You've seen it. He's a big-time ref.
I don't love this ref.
Brazilian referee.
I've seen him call some weird calls.
Say that after 7 years in Brazil.
Botafogo. So, but hopefully he doesn't do that with LAFC. But he's sometimes he's okay, but then sometimes he gets found out in the game. So hopefully we don't have to make it about the referee.
We've kicked this thing off. I think that's a good place. Few comments here. Is Chiellini still working with the club? That's from Breaking Rad. Giorgio Chiellini is an ambassador. He comes back every now and then. Sometimes you'll see him at Il Pastaio in Beverly Hills. Sometimes I don't know. But he'll come back. He loves the city, so I'm sure we'll see him back again. Black and gold would look good in that tournament, the Club World Cup. Juice, if LAFC qualifies, I think they're the MLS team with the best chance to actually win a game.
Right.
Possibly advance, which I
get through to the next round.
Because of the group they're in, Chelsea, Flamengo, and Esperance of Tunisia. Sometimes we need a player like Meta World Peace to our Kobe. Kevin 776-747 on Facebook. Put Denny Bouanga next game, and he will score 2 goals. I'm glad that Bouanga was a little bit. We know he raised the occasion. He wasn't great against Montreal. The law of averages say he'll be ready to go here.
Yeah, he had some chances. He actually, that first chance in the first half was a big save. He had some chances, just didn't fall his way, but maybe he's saving him for the big game.
Okay. Inside LAFC podcast. It's been great to be with you. Let's keep the conversation going all week. Hopefully see you out there on Saturday. I guess I can share this. I will be calling the game with Brian Dunseth on TBS.
We already won.
Yes. So we're very excited about that. And we will remind all of you that it is going to be that you have to like and subscribe us here. I'm going to give you all the information quickly. Like and subscribe. Hit it. If you haven't gone, like, subscribe. And if I've lost my train of thought. 5:30 Pacific time tomorrow on Fox 11 Plus, formerly Channel 13. Watch the re-air of LAFC in Montreal.
Or maybe only start watching it at 5:45.
Yeah, and then you can watch LAFC Weekly preceding it. Mamba mentality on Saturday. Vamos black and gold. We will win the Bretos. I got to get Yubi a bouquet or something fantastic, or she. I don't know. It's a hamster in the avatar. All right, enjoy your time off, Benny. Good stuff today.
Thank you, Max. We'll see you. Good luck calling the game. Don't let us down, man.
All right. And Sir Crispy, as he always does, saying hello. Let's go black and gold Saturday. I'll call it down the middle, by the way.